Hi, welcome back to Tendoc Talks about the Power Rangers role-playing game. Today we're going to talk about the third of the advanced spectrums added by Across the Stars, the Phantom Ranger. Now, there's only one picture here because, as far as I know, there has only ever been one Phantom Ranger, and it is, of course, built into the lore of the character. See, the Phantom Ranger serves the Morphin Masters, who have special agendas throughout time and space to protect the Morphin Grid. See, the very first Power Ranger, the Morphinaut, when he entered the grid for a time, he realized that there was great good in there, but also great evil, that there was an antithesis, a force, um, and that force ended up being the forces of Dark Spectre. So in order to protect the Morphin Grid, he set into motion what would be the creation of the first Phantom Ranger, which nowadays is granted by the Morphin Masters. If you know anything about the Boom comics, you might recognize them as being the ones that set off the Omega Rangers. Uh, Jason, the red one, the black one, the yellow one, Trini, Zach, the Black Ranger, and then the Blue Ranger who went crazy and then turned into a villain. Kia, I believe, is her name. But today we're talking about the Phantom Ranger. Similar to the Gold Ranger and the Silver Ranger, there is only ever one, except this time there's only one in all of time and space. Because what you're going to find out very soon is that the Phantom Ranger is actually a time traveler of sorts. Let's take a look at his stats. One of the first things you're going to notice is that he doesn't have a single stat that he specializes in. He's kind of across the board. He doesn't have one stat that he gets a +2 in. And the two stats that he increases the most are strength and smarts, but it's much more spread out than some of the other Rangers. He also has a couple of special abilities here that we're going to talk about in a moment. So let's take a look at his powers, right? He starts off with 2 personal power, a lot like everybody else does. He regenerates them at a rate of 3 per day. He can wear light and medium armor. And when he comes with his skills, they are +1 athletics, +1 finesse, and +1 culture. What that means is your strength is going to be 1 higher than you normally would, your speed will be 1 higher, and your smarts will be 1 higher, and you don't get to customize where those go. You still can through Origin, and you can as you level up, but at the very first level, you're going to have to be taking those. You're going to start off your adventure with a grid-wide communicator, which is a lot like the other Rangers' form of communication. They have wristwatches or basically cell phone devices, but it's pretty much the same thing. What exact form that takes doesn't really matter. You also get a phantom key or a focus instead of a morpher, but you can basically just think of it as your morpher, and a phantom laser. You do not start off with a power weapon because of this, but that's okay because your phantom laser does energy 2, and as a secondary, it can do um, armor piercing, but you have to take a downshift in order to do that. So if somebody is wearing armor, you can bypass it. Now, this isn't going to work on most other Power Rangers because their armor isn't real armor. It's the bonus granted to them from its Morphin time, which of course doesn't really count as armor. It just gives you that bonus based on your armor proficiency. His ability of its Morphin time does the same thing everybody else does. He gets a toughness bonus, triples his jump distances, and when reduced to 0 health, he can avoid defeat by automatically returning to natural form, unconscious at 1 hit point. Now, I know I just said he doesn't start off with a power weapon, but built into its Morphin time, as a free action, you can summon one, a power-based or a laser-based weapon to your hands. Now, his assigned weapon is the Phantom Laser. So you can change what your assigned weapon is and call it for a free action. But Phantom Laser is actually really, really good. If you're going to be focusing on ranged attacks, very few things do 2 damage in the very beginning. Now, the Phantom Ranger, a lot like the Gold Ranger and a lot like the Silver Ranger, they start off with their Zord at level 1. In this case, it's called a Phantom Ship. Now, a Phantom Ship has its own base stats. They don't fall directly in line with the stats of a Zord, and that's later on in the book. But it's approximate. You can basically think of it as a Zord. Just imagine, it doesn't have arms and legs or transforming capability, but it can shoot, which is totally fine if you want to play that kind of character. And he gets ship features at 3rd level, 6th, 10th, 14th, and 17th. Now, I may not have said this before, but advanced Rangers get one more Zord feature than your standard Power Ranger because they start getting them at level 3. So keep that in mind also. Now, his first ability at level 1, he gets something called the Phantom Suite, and this is part of what helps determine his name and his purpose. Right? It says that the Phantom Rangers get their name from the powers within the suite. So at first level, if you're morphed, you can spend a personal power to become semi-invisible. Now, don't get caught up on the condition semi-invisible. You won't find it in the core book. It's not a new condition. Invisible is a condition that does something. Semi-invisible, it doesn't really mean anything except for what it is about to tell you. So don't go nuts looking through the book trying to define this. It says you remain in this state until you take damage from an attack, specifically against your evasion defense. Not toughness, not cleverness, not willpower. While the Phantom Suite is active, you get 1 shift and edge to all infiltration stealth skill tests. And you get a +2 bonus to your evasion. And as you level up, this bonus gets better. So your evasion defense will increase to +3 at 7th level, +4 at 12th, and +5 at 17th. Since it said, so basically you have to take damage after your evasion defense being targeted. I guess if you get hit and you dodge with toughness, it doesn't cause you to become not semi-invisible anymore. It's hard to say, but again, don't get too caught up on what exactly that looks like or what exactly that means. This is just protection for your evasion defense. At level 2, they get the special ability Follow Through. It's to help you be better at your hit and run tactics. The first time each round you defeat an enemy target with a might or finesse attack skill, so keep that in mind, not targeting, so it has to be a melee, might or finesse. You move a distance equal to your burst speed. So let's take a look at our burst speed again. Remember, it's a ability that was going to increase as you level up. And at 2nd and 3rd level, your burst speed is only 5 feet. But at 4th level, it increases to 10. At 6 to 15, at 8 to 20, at 10 to 25, all the way down to 50 feet at level 20. So after we defeat someone with a might or finesse attack skill, you can move equal to your burst speed and immediately make the same attack against another target. Now, while you're moving using your burst speed, you ignore all obstacles, enemies, and rough terrain. And there's some flavor text here that says, to the naked eye, this seems like the Phantom Ranger is blinking in and out of existence or time. And at higher roll levels, you are. They're going to get into the implications of that later, but for now, this burst of speed just looks really cool. You get a general perk at the normal Ranger levels, 4th, 8th, 12th, 16th, and 19th. They get extra attack at level 5, which allows them to attack twice, And at level 13, they can attack 3 times. This only works while morphed and fighting as an individual. At 5th level, Phantom Rangers can they see the changes their actions have made to strengthen, mend, and ward the fabric of the Morphin Grid. You may spend a story point to reroll any failed skill test instead of just natural ones. And when you do so, the rerolled skill test gains a 2-shift bonus. Because you are a time traveler or agent or space-time coordinator, you have special powers to affect fate and the things that have happened. So when you roll, you can just spend one of your party story points to re-roll that and get a 2-shift bonus. This is a big deal because most Power Rangers can only do that on a natural 1. It's one of the built-in powers of a story point. At 6th level, 11th and 16th, they get a grid power along with any other ranger. So you can choose the different powers and grid powers, of which there are new ones in Across the Stars. We'll go over those at some point. At 6th level, they get the ability Ageless Knowledge. You can spend a personal power and a free action to tap into the Phantom Energy data. And even when you're not morphed, you can still do this, and you can remove the unskilled penalty from any single kill for 1 minute? Hold on. They mean skill. It says any single kill for 1 minute. But no, that's definitely a typo. But yeah, you get to use a ranger ability while you're not morphed, which is actually quite unique to the Phantom Ranger here. It allows them the ability, it gains them access to some of their powers and abilities there. So that's pretty cool. So let's move on to Body of Energy. When you reach 8th level as a Phantom Ranger, your body transforms almost entirely into grid energy. See, this is one of the Phantom Ranger's one of their most broken abilities. You see, they turn into this phantom grid morphin energy being, and their health and personal power points become interchangeable. So it becomes one pool of personal power. So you can, when you spend or lose health or power for any reason, you reduce the combined pool accordingly. So if you have 10 health and 10 power, you now have 20 health, or you have 20 power. So you can power a whole bunch of special abilities. There are tons of grid powers that are actually very good for this. They do, like, they power some special abilities that can be very cost heavy. The Phantom Ranger can actually burn health to help them do this. Or if they're not really using their personal power, they can get more health for this. There are some implications, though, when you demorph. So when you exit your morph state, for any other reason outside of being defeated, because if you're morphed and your energy, then the only way to get defeated is to run out of everything. Your health and personal power return to equal value to half of your remaining combined pull points. Now, you might be able to cheese the system a little bit. Say you spent all of your power points, and all you have left is health. You can turn into Body of Energy, then exit your morph form, and now everything has kind of leveled out. That may actually end up being a bad thing too, like if you were counting on having that extra health. So, keep track of that. At level 9, you have gained Unseen Strike. On your first attack skill test every turn, while your Phantom Suite is active, the target halves their evasion defense against the attack, making it much easier to get a critical success or additional degrees of success against your target. Okay, so remember, in order to get one of the ways you can get a critical success in this game is to double the defense of the person you're targeting. And the first attack each turn, not each turn you spend a point, just each turn, is counted as having half their evasion defense. Now, if they're dodging with toughness, this doesn't help you, but if they're trying to evade you, you are so good at masking your striking ability that they can't see it coming and they get hit, or they're more likely to get hit. Now, what does it mean to have your Phantom Suite active? Well, let's go back a second, right? You have to be morph and spend a personal power to become semi-invisible, which of course is giving you shifts, bonuses to hit people on their evasion defense, and it is getting better as you level up. Your Phantom Suite deactivates the moment you are hit on your evasion defense. So it does cost a power point to do, which you can have a lot of if you are using Body of Energy at the time. So it can be very difficult for your enemy to have to deal with this. It's just, and every attack you get per round, every first attack you get per round, hits very accurately if they're trying to evade with evasion. Now, if they know something is trying to hit them and they can't see it, they could just choose to defend with toughness, and then you're not going to get a lot of use out of that ability. So make sure that you and your DM have an understanding about this ability and its implications, that he doesn't, so that you don't completely shut him out and he doesn't completely shut you down because of it. All right, now let's talk about Phantom Focus, which happens at level 10. You can customize your morpher. So the Phantom Key or Phantom Focus, it's basically all the same, but for the challenges of mending the grid. So first at 10th and then again at 15th, you choose one of the abilities to affect your morph form permanently, and you can only select each ability once. Now you have to be careful in the Power Rangers role-playing game. Sometimes they will say you can only select an ability once, and they'll mean it. But other times they won't say that at all, but they actually do mean for you to only take it once. That will come into play later when we go over some other things, but I just wanted you to be aware that if it doesn't say you can only select, or if it does say you can only select an ability once, then you can only take it once, but if it doesn't say, it depends. Okay, you can choose Boosted Vigor, which just gives you 3 temporary health when you morph, and when you exit your morph, those disappear. You can choose Healing Light, which allows you to spend a personal power and 1 health to heal 2d2 health to any target. Or, alternatively, or in addition to that, you can spend 1 power point and 1 health to remove all current poisons and adverse conditions from the target. So you can spend 2 personal power and 2 health to heal them 2d2 health and remove a condition, or any combination in between. Multiversal Pocket. While morphed, you have access to a small 10-foot by 10-foot extra-dimensional storage pocket. You can pull hammers out of subspace like Bugs Bunny. It takes a standard action to reach in and deposit or remove a non-living object, so I guess you can't put a living object in there. And this object exists outside of space and time. So, time bombs. Say there was a bomb that was going to go off. You could put it inside this pocket, and then time for that object would stop. That could actually be a really cool way to end or solve a problem in an adventure. Yeah, and it prevents decay and spoilage, so you could use it for food, you know. The pocket void immediately forces out any living thing you attempt to store in it. So, while morphed, you have access to non-living object, pocket void. See, here's the thing. It doesn't say that when you demorph, this pocket dimension stops existing. So theoretically, you could put something in there indefinitely. Wow. Also, it doesn't say how many objects you can put in there. I guess it's up to you in the DM to just decide how many things you can fit in a 10-foot by 10-foot uh, extra dimensional storage pocket. Also, that's not a volume, that's an area. They probably mean 10 by 10 by 10, like a cube. I don't know. It, it seems like there's a lot of things you could do with this that could be very problematic just toward playing the game. There's a lot of broken combinations you could do here. Um, I don't know. Say you run up to Rita, revolt a grab her wand, shove it in the extra dimensional space, and then dip. It doesn't say there's any way to force the object out, and it doesn't say that killing you gets it back. It even doesn't say that demorphing causes the items to drop. Like, there's a lot you can do here. Uh, Imagine being fed up with another Power Ranger taking their morpher and sticking it in the extra dimensional space. It's like, yeah, you'll get this back when you calm down. There's a lot of things you could do to break this. Even though it's not one of his like combat abilities, there's a lot of things you could do here. Phase defense. Your Phantom Suite bends time and space, as well as it bends light. So basically, you apply its evasion defense bonus to your toughness. Okay. So your Phantom Suite that was giving you +2 evasion, then 3, then 4, then 5, now it applies to your toughness 2. And it doesn't look like it costs an extra point to do that. So that might be a really good one to take. Because at first, enemies are going to look at you and say, wow, you've put everything into your evasion. I should hit your toughness. But now, so that could be really good. And ship integration. When piloting your Phantom ship, you connect your Phantom key or focus to make the vessel part of your Phantom Suite. While integrated, you can spend a personal power to allow your ship, while you are piloting it, to use your Phantom Suite and Unseen Strike roll perk. Woo boy. Okay, remember, you only get 2 of these abilities. Taken at the appropriate time, they can be very, very good. Taken at the wrong time, they can be almost useless. Like Multiversal Pocket could be completely useless depending on how your DM plays and how the adventures are structured. So you do have to be careful about that. All right, level 18, he has an ability called Through the Arches. By spending 2 personal power, you and your ship can pass through the arches, vanishing and reappearing within 30 feet of any object, person, or place integrated with Morphin Grid energy. You usually have control over where and when you appear, but the grid works in mysterious ways. Basically, the game master can mess with you. You can take other people with you, other beings, provided they are physically touching you and capable of spending the same amount of personal power that you do, so they have to help in the cost. So if you're trying to take someone who's not a Power Ranger, it's not going to work. They need to have personal power and be able to spend it, and only Power Rangers can do that. I'm pretty sure even in the other systems like G.I. Joe and Transformers, I don't think they have power points. I think it's something else. This really only works with Rangers. While you're accustomed to traveling across the Morphin Grid between realities, others are not, and characters who travel with you and who do not have this roll perk, they arrive befuddled by the transfer and suffer snag on all skill tests for 1 minute after arrival. 1 minute does not sound like a long time, but remember, a round of combat is 6 seconds, so just hope you don't pop out in the middle of combat, otherwise all of your abilities are going to have snag. Now, I glossed over something that's kind of a big deal here, so let's go back. It says you appear within 30 feet of any object, person, or place integrated with Morphin Grid energy. Now, Morphin Grid energy is the entire universe. And it's heavily implied that you're not just moving through space, you can move through time. because the flavor text in the beginning says easily travel across time and space. So if there's a lot of Morphin Grid energy 30 years ago, you could choose to go there. And the Phantom Ranger is no stranger to time travel. He's basically the Morphin Master's time agent to go correct things that have gone wrong or are about to go wrong so that the space-time continuum stays together. So there's a lot you can do with this. Again, you're gonna have to work with your GM about how to use this fairly, because it sounds to me like if you really wanted to, you could undo an entire bad combat just by going back in time a little ways. Now, granted, it's an 18th level ability, so maybe you should be allowed to do that. I don't know. But it only costs a single power point if you do it by, or sorry, 2 power points if you do it by yourself, and it takes another power point for everybody with you. It also doesn't say you come back. So wherever you go, you stay there, and the adventure continues from there. So why couldn't you just spend all of your power points? Okay, hear me out. You use your Phantom Suite, and you go into Body of Energy, so that all of your health is now power points. All right, so at 18th level, what do you have? At 18th level, you're going to have 10 power points, and your health is going to depend. You might have anywhere between 4 to 8, right? So let's say 4. Let's say you have 14 points, right? You could go back in time 6 times. You could go back in time 6 times, picking up copies of yourself, spending 2 power points, going back in time again, and have 7 of you. That doesn't seem fair. All right, and his last ability at level 20, which is Phantom Ranger Prime. They get +2 to all defenses, which is standard across all Power Rangers. They deal an extra point of damage. Choose what type when you hit on unarmed attacks. So if you're using an unarmed attack, you can do, I don't know, extra thunder damage, or extra fire damage, or just extra blunt. Whatever you want. And then they get edge on skill tests when using a grid power. And grid powers are very specific. They're abilities that you take at certain level of thresholds. I think you can have a total of 3. The Blue Ranger does something very similar in that regard. Well, that was the Phantom Ranger, the last of the 3 classes that were introduced in Across the Stars. Now, there's plenty more to talk about when it comes to Across the Stars. Some of the things that they did to try to correct Zords, additional grid powers and abilities, some backgrounds. There's still more to talk about, but also more supplemental material has come out, and I want to be able to talk about those too. So I'll probably run a couple of things in tandem. So stay tuned for more.